Good morning. This is Chair French, and I'm convening the business meeting of the Kansas Corporation Commission for this Thursday, December 21st, joined by my colleagues, Commissioner Keene and Commissioner Keither. On today's agenda, we have 24 consent agenda items. We have one noticed order, and we have the potential adoption of some temporary regulations for our motor carrier division. We will begin with our consent agenda. Commissioners, you've had the opportunity to review all the items listed thereon. Do you have any questions about any of the consent agenda items? And I will begin with Commissioner Keither.
I do not.
And Commissioner Keene.
None from me either. Thank you. I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion of that motion? Hearing none, those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say no. The consent agenda is approved. We will now move to our one noticed item. This is in docket number 23 CONS 3176 CSHO, and it is a proposed order on petition for reconsideration in that docket. And our presenter is Mr. Jonathan Myers. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Chair French. Good morning, Commissioners. Before you is an order denying Great Plains Petroleum's petition for reconsideration. I am available for any questions.
All right. Since John has opened himself up, let me ask if there's any questions on the order at this time. I'll begin again with Commissioner Keither.
No, I don't. It was very clear reading. Thank you.
And Commissioner Keene.
No questions. You're off the hook, John, on that part. I would move approval of the order.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the order as described in this docket. Is there any further discussion of that motion? Hearing none, those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say no. The order is approved. Thank you, Mr. Myers. We will now move to our last item listed on our agenda, and this is a proposed roll call vote on the adoption of temporary regulations KAR 8241, 8243J, and 8243A. And our presenter for this item is Mr. Hassan Latif. Good morning, Hassan.
Good morning, Commissioners. Transportation staff seeks Commission adoption of the temporary version of three transportation regulations, as you mentioned, KR 8241, 8243J, and 8243A. The identical permanent versions are currently in the process of being adopted as well. I'll briefly summarize the regulations and the proposed changes. The first is 8241, which provides definitions of terms used in the motor carrier safety regulations. Those terms include the definition of out of service, or OOS, and the proposed change would update that definition to reference the latest version of the North American standard out of service criteria, which is a document that describes out of service behavior or violations. The proposed amendment is not anticipated to have an economic impact. KR 82430A adopts relevant portions of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration regulations and the Unified Carrier Registration Act, which together establish rules and registration fees owed by carriers based in Kansas that operate across state lines. The proposed changes to this regulations allows for the Corporation Commission and the Highway Patrol to enforce a lower fee schedule, which has been approved for use in 2024. These fees change each year based on the number of people who pay into the fund, and so over the last few years, they've and actually largely since 2017, it's been reduced each year. And so this year, for example, the lowest fee category drops from $41 to $37 for 2024. The final regulation is 8243J, which adopts portions of the federal regulations that govern inspection, repair, and maintenance of commercial motor vehicles. This proposed amendment removes references to Appendix G, which has been removed from the federal regulation and replaced with Appendix A, which is now adopted by this regulation. This would allow for carriers in our state to comply with the same rules that are they're subject to in other states. And this also does not anticipated to have an economic impact. So after the roll call vote by the Commission today, if it's approved, the temporary regulation will be presented to the State Rules and Reg Board next Friday, December 29th. And with that board's approval, the regulation will be immediately effective. and a permanent permanent version of this regulation is also under consideration. For that process, I and staff will appear before the Joint Committee on Rules and Regulations at some point after the new year, and a public hearing is scheduled on these regulations for March 19th, 2024. But with that, staff requests the commission adopt the temporary versions of these three regulations by roll call vote as is required. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have as well as staff.
Well, let me ask first. So I think Asan has circulated to everybody a summary of the regulations and the actual temporary regulations themselves, in addition to his summary today. But I will open it up at this time if there's any questions for Asan or the staff members in the Motor Carrier Division. And I'll begin with Commissioner Keither. Do you have any questions?
Just one, since I did serve on the Joint Rules and Regs Committee. Hassan, do you have any idea if your public meeting is going to be before they meet in the first of the year?
It's every time I've done this, it's been about a month or two before the public hearing. So I anticipate that it'll be in January, February before the public hearing.
Okay. Well, yeah, pretty straightforward. Hopefully you shouldn't have any problems with these.
We hope so.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I don't
Sure.
have any questions.
Commissioner
Amy.
Keen, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Well, then I think we will just move straight to the roll call vote. As Commissioner Keither said, this is all pretty straightforward. What we'll do is just a roll call vote on all of the temporary regulations together. As I call each of your names, just give me a yes or a no, an A or an A, however you want to indicate your vote. Commissioner Keither,
Yes.
Commissioner Keen,
Yes,
and Chair French votes yes. So the temporary regulations are approved, and we will get you that certificate, Asan. So is there anything further you need from us, Asan or Motor Carrier Division?
Not to my knowledge, not on this subject, and other than for you all to have happy holidays.
Very good. All right, that brings us to the conclusion of all of the items noticed on today's agenda. I did want to note that we will not have a business meeting next Tuesday, the day following Christmas. So our next scheduled business meeting will be next Thursday, 1 week from today. If there are no further matters to come before us this morning, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn and have a Merry Christmas.
I second both the motion and the wishes for a Merry Christmas.
We've got a motion and a second. Those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. The meeting is adjourned. Happy holidays.
Take care.
Take care.